All right, good evening, everybody. This is Rob Mazak. I am a psychic medium with a lot of really cool services, actually. But I am here to do a podcast, and as usual, I don't do any scripts or I don't read anything. I'm just kind of talking from the heart. Start with a topic and an idea and see where the conversation takes me and takes us. And so, it could be a long one, it could be a short one. It just really depends on the idea and how it formulates, and we'll see where it goes. So I think I'm going to talk about the fact that life is very interesting. And that's a really big subject, obviously. I want to talk about this because I'm finding myself in a space that is not uncommon to me or unfamiliar to me. But, as human beings, we sometimes have a lot of trouble with the middle space, as I will call it. We all enjoy those really exciting times and those fun times and those highs in our lives. The exciting things that we get to do. We can't wait to wake up and go do things, or you're just so excited to go do stuff, and it's just lots of fun, time flies, all those kind of things. And then we also have those times when we're just like completely low, depressed, if you will, just dragging our knuckles, walking around like Eeyore looking for his tail. But, I think in our society today, we tend to find ourselves either in a really high place or a really low place. Very seldom do people find themselves in this middle space. And it can be a very boring space because nothing exciting is happening and we're not trying to pull ourselves out of a hole. And so it's just kind of like that like if you drive a standard car, it's the neutral gear, where you're not really, the engine's running, you're not really going anywhere, that kind of thing. There's potential for that. But a lot of people have trouble in this space. And I've been in this particular space for, I don't know, a couple weeks, it seems. And I don't mind it, because it does force you in a lot of ways to really look at things, look at yourself, look at what's going on in life, look at your priorities, and see where you might need to make changes. Great time to meditate, things like that. But when it goes for a while, sometimes you really wonder what is going on, and why are we, or why am I, or are we being forced to sit in this space. And it's kind of like a waiting space. If you ever gone to the doctor's office and it's just, you're waiting for a 5-minute prescription renewal, and you're sitting in the waiting room for, 30 minutes, an hour, and, and it just seems unbearable to have to actually sit there and wait and not do anything. And I think that is a very big place that most of us struggle, is that really, that this middle ground. And I'm finding myself here, and, I have done a lot of meditation during this time, and, most of the answers that I get when I connect with my spirit guide is that, it's just like, you just need to wait. You just need to wait. And the human part of me always wanting to know, well, what is it that I should be doing? And I still get that. Well, you'll know it when you see it. You'll know it when you hear it. You'll know it when it happens. And as humans, boy, that is a tough place to be in. And it's been that way quite a bit for me. Because when I do readings for other people, and I do readings for myself especially, the information I get about myself is very general. I don't get a lot of what's coming up in my future. I get ideas, innuendos, just little sneak peeks. But my spirit guide is not all about, putting out the details about what's coming. I'll get, generalities like, something really big is coming, and you can just feel the change, and something's coming, and then it happens. And I'm not saying I don't get that, but I believe that our spirit guide, our spirit guides, or whoever guides us from outside of ourselves, whatever you term that, however you look at that, I believe it's sort of like the way we are as parents. We're definitely not going to tell our kids everything. We want them to learn. If we do everything for them and show them everything and answer their tests and answer their questions and don't allow them to grow and figure it out for themselves, well, they're just not going to become a very good human being and fit into society properly. And let's just face it, whatever this reality is, we have to fit into it or we don't survive. So we would never raise our kids that way, or most of us wouldn't. And so I believe that spirit guides, is very similar to that mentality, where it's like, if they lead us down a path and show us exactly what's going to happen, there's no real work involved. I mean, the only way to grow as a person or grow as any kind of being is to go through the struggles. I mean, let's just face it. If you want diamonds, you have to put it under tremendous pressure and heat for long periods of time. And it sucks and it's not fun. But look what you become. You become this expensive diamond that's one of the most rarest things there is to have. I do believe we have to go through it to get to it. And I've heard that from other speakers. That's not mine, but I like it. What I also find is in wherever we are in life, whatever situation we find us in, whatever mentality we find ourselves in, whatever situation, I might have said that already, it is always for a reason. It is always for a reason. And sometimes we don't always know the reason until we look back at it. When I was going through my really deep, dark night of the soul, I don't know, it's 10, 11 years ago, it completely sucked. But, it is also one of the best times of my life. And it has made me a much better person. Nobody's perfect. And we all still have work to do. But, when I look back at it, as I was telling my daughter the other day, when I look back, it seems like just a blip in time, even though I was going through it for a better part of a year, and it seemed unbearable, and I didn't think I was going to survive. I didn't think I was going to make it. I didn't, wondering when it was ever going to end. But looking back, like I said, it's just a little wisp of time. And so we have to learn to just simply go through the motions if that's all we have energy to do. Sometimes we just have to work it out and figure out why we're in the spaces we're at, why we're in the situations we're at, why we're with the people that we are surrounded by. And, everybody in our life is a teacher of some sort. And in my opinion, there are a lot of role players that come into our lives, and we have agreements before we get here, what role each of us is going to play. And so for me, I'm a teacher for other people, and other people are teachers for me. Not necessarily directly like a teacher sitting in a classroom. You know that's the teacher, and you have to listen to them, and in order to pass the course and learn the material and all that. But in this life as a human being, we don't necessarily get to know what those arrangements are, what those agreements were that brought us here and brought us all together. And so we don't always think of other people or situations as teachers or teaching moments, but they are. There's always that silver lining in a cloud. I don't care how you break it out. If you look back at your life, no matter how old you are, you will find times when you're like, how did I ever survive that? Look how far I've come. A lot of times we got to quit looking at where we haven't gone, what we haven't done, what we haven't accomplished, and go back and look at the old trophies we have in our life. Not necessarily literal trophies, but you understand what I mean. All the successes we've had, all the things we made it through. Just like Steve Harvey says, you batting average of surviving all those times that you thought you would never make it through is 100%, because if you are alive and you are breathing and you are on this earth, you have survived everything. You have survived all of that. Now, granted, are we where we want to be most of the time after that? I mean, sometimes not. But the thing is that we also have to continue to grow. We have to move forward. If we're the same person we were 10 years ago, doing the same things, making the same mistakes, doing all the same stupid things, having the same kind of relationships, it's not growth. That's just surviving. That's not thriving. And we don't have a lot of time on this planet, this place, this reality. 7,500 years it might seem long if you live to those ages, but it really isn't. It is not a lot of time. I mean, if you look at the universe as they say it is, whether it is or not, I mean, we're talking billions and billions and billions of years, 75 years is not even, it's barely a mention. But our life is important. Remember, though, no matter what we're going through, no matter what our struggles are, no matter what place we find ourselves in society, what kind of job we have, what kind of family we have, what kind of relationships we have, and none of that really matters in the grand scheme of things. Because if we're all, as humans, kind of like a drops in the sea, that's what makes up the sea. The consciousness of this cosmos is made up by us. And without all of us, there would not be that collective consciousness. There would not be many of the things that there are, right? We hold all of this universe and this reality and all these things in place by our perceptions that we form over life experiences, trials, errors, good times, bad times, relationships, the way we were raised, cultures, all those kind of things. Without all these individuals on this planet, we'll just roll with that, on this planet would not exist, because even if you look at quantum physics, quantum mechanics and all of that, everything changes into possibilities, or from possibilities into existence, simply by the observation of something. It doesn't even have to be a human or an animal. It could be a camera. It could be anything that's observing something. And so we are important, even though in the grand scheme of things, think about it, not very important. Not as necessarily as individuals, but as a collective part of everything that there is. I mean, think about your human body. There's trillions of cells in your body. Without all of those individual cells that may feel very unimportant, if they have feelings, they have to be melded together and work together in order to have a human body and to have operations as a human and act as a human and be a human. And so I think you get where I'm going. Even if we find ourselves in places and times and moods that just don't seem to make any sense, sometimes that is for a reason, and sometimes it's not. But I do believe in the grand scheme of things and the planning and our choices of coming here to be incarnate on this planet. I believe we come with contracts and ideas and arrangements before we get here. I can't prove that, but that's just my experience with clients and myself and different journeys that I've had, or many journeys that I've had. I don't think that what we're going through is always that either. I mean, there are also times when we are our worst enemy, that everything that happens in our lives can also be our own doing, our own energy, our own fault, our own subconscious programming. That, once again, we talked about with perceptions. It's all wound up in this recording that plays over and over and over again. 95% of the thoughts we had yesterday, the same ones we had 20 years ago. And they keep repeating like a CD or a DVD or now, obviously, an MP3, whatever you want to say. We're in modern times, right? God, sorry, I'm an old fart. But the point is that we have to really analyze sometimes where we are in our situations. Is it something that is fate, something that is determined, or is it really us that's causing that? It could be a little bit of both, right? And so if we do an honest assessment and we really look at our lives and we really look at who we are and how we manage to find ourselves in this place, we could also discover that, once again, we can fix things. We can change things. We can absolutely change things. Are we always supposed to? I don't know. But we have free will, and we can change things. And if we don't change things, everything's going to be the same. And so what is it that you really want in life? I mean, if you find yourself in a place that you don't like, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. But staying that way and allowing it to run your life and rule your life is a different thing. We have to be careful that we don't allow ourselves to stay in moods and personalities and situations to the point where it becomes so ingrained in our subconscious that, guess what? We become somebody that we don't like. We look in the mirror one day and we're like, who the hell is that? And so we do have choices. even if we are here for specific reasons and under certain contracts and whatever arrangements that we talked about earlier, it doesn't mean we don't have the ability to change those. And we can go completely against that because, the funny thing is we don't know what those arrangements are, as we talked about. And if we don't know the answers to the test, or that it's even a test, sometimes we don't even know that those are there behind the scenes. But I also believe that our spirit guides are going to put us into situations that are going to force us to make the choices that we came here to do. And they can't necessarily do it directly. Just like, the old Star Trek, non-interference clause, the spaceship that they were flying, the USS Enterprise, would go into other galaxies and solar systems and find these, societies that were, cavemen type, or learning to evolve at early times of their existence. The rule was that they weren't supposed to interfere and, go and teach them how to do fire, or make their life better through technology. In many ways, that's what's going on here on this earth, is that, I believe that we are being watched and guided from the outside. And you can look at that outside in many different ways. You could look at it as angels and spirit guides and God and Allah, or all kind of things, right? It could be other alien life beings, could be beings from other dimensions. I mean, there's a lot of ideas. None of us really know, to be honest. And we may never know. I mean, our hope, and my hope at least, is that when I leave this meat suit one day, which we all will, that I'll be able to look back and go, oh, that's what it's about. That's what was going on. And, then we'll be able to have that overhead view instead of, just simply being on the field that can only see and operate in 100 yards of distance, as an analogy. But back to the original idea is that, if we find ourselves in a lull, or we find ourselves in a place, what is that reason exactly? And it really comes down to us, because we are in charge of our lives. I mean, nobody really can be blamed for our life. I mean, granted, there's things that happen to us. People do things to us, especially when we're younger. I get it. It continues to be our fault if we don't do something about it. If we continue to lay on the ground after being knocked down, then whose fault is it then? It's ours, right? And so we have to take an honest assessment of our situation, who we are and where we're at, and really determine through, a lot of ways you can do that. I like to do that through meditation and reaching out to my spirit guides. I say guides because there's a lot of them that I interact with. But to really find out what it is that I'm not doing, usually not doing, or things that I should stop doing. Not always necessarily even that I should be doing this or that. Certainly I get the solid message all the time about what I should not be doing and what is not serving my life and my purpose. And so you can do that in a lot of different ways. Through religion, people like to use prayer. They use there's meditation. There's a lot of different ways you can do these things. You can seek out guidance, through counselors. You can do a lot of different things. But you got to do yourself that favor and not allow yourself to be stuck in a going in circles. I guess that's the best way to put that. If every day seems the same, it's over and over again. It's no different, no change. Nothing new is happening. It just feels like life has gotten boring. Well, that's because you're allowing the subconscious programming to run your life. And, most of us don't even know that occurs. So we got to get off of our asses. I say us because, I even though I've been through a lot of hardcore self-development, I'm still human, and I find myself, being stupid sometimes. But, the really cool thing about going through and learning about yourself is that when you're being stupid. You absolutely know. And sometimes, it's just kind of nice to just kind of wander in depressive state or the lull sometimes just because just because. Knowing that you're doing it and not knowing that you're doing it is two different things. And so once you learn to identify who you are, and what you want to be, then that's really the secret, right? And in seeking out the best way to analyze that, assess that, work through it, like I said, there's no way to get to it other than going through it. You really do have to do that. I mean, if you just look at a simple goal, right? Let's say you want to become a millionaire. Most millionaires will tell you that it's actually easier to make $1 million a year than it is to make $30,000. I still haven't figured that one out. But I think the point is that it really comes down to mentality. And, do you feel like a millionaire? Do you act like a millionaire? Do you speak like a millionaire? Or do you speak and act like a thousandaire? It really comes down to, what you perceive and what you continually think about and ponder on and allow your mind to wander through. And so you have to kind of put that goal out there, whatever it is, and strive to reach that goal. Once you reach the goal, then it's no different than, say, for example, winning the Super Bowl. A lot of players will say these same things that have won Super Bowls. It's like, well, now what? I spent my whole life to get here and do this, and now I'm here. Well, now what? Getting to a goal is not necessarily the goal, in my opinion. It is the journey to get to that goal. So if you don't make goals that are big enough to scare you and to make you feel like it's impossible to get to, then your journey is going to be way too easy, and it's not going to help you grow. And even if you do make it to a goal, well, you need to climb the next mountain. Because if you sit and rest on your laurels and shine up trophies of the past and not work on a new one to shine up, well, nobody really cares who you used to be. They really don't. To be honest, we don't really care what we used to be. We tend to rest on those accomplishments and never really get rid of the celebration and go on to find some new celebration. Come on now, right? We have to grow. I mean, what else is there to do on this planet other than give yourself challenges, make yourself better, do something different, become somebody else. And there is nothing wrong with an ordinary life when you go to work and raise kids and go to college and do all those things, retire, get a mobile home, travel the country in your old age. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think most of us at our core really want that. I think what we really want is to be known and to be people to know who we are and what we've done and all the accomplishments we've made and leave a name for ourselves. And even if it's not for ourselves, why not leave a legacy for your children and your grandchildren to hang on a name, to hang on a family credential? Look at some of these high-end celebrities over the years. I mean, I'm sure Michael Jackson's family, and I think he had a kid, right? But anyway, I'm just going to use that as an example. If Michael Jackson had a child, I'm terrible at history, sorry. But if Michael Jackson had a child, now that he's not here, can you imagine how good his life will continue just because he was the son of Michael Jackson? And that's not even necessarily all about money. It's about that fame and the idea that his lineage is going to continue and that this child is likely to have some of the same qualities. So he's going to have a lot more opportunities than other children because of the family he comes from. So even if you're not searching and reaching goals for yourselves, why wouldn't you do that for your family and to leave something for your kids and your grandkids that they can hang their hat on? I mean, why not? I mean, if you think about it, if all you're doing is working success goals simply to buy the house and the cars and the jewelry and the stuff, it's satisfying at first, but once you've got the car and the houses and the jewelry and the girls and the guys and all that stuff, then what? That soon becomes boring too. And so you have to do it. You have to have a real solid why. I think that involves more than just things. I mean, I don't know what else you can hang your hat on other than helping others, whether it's your family, starting a nonprofit, finding ways to help other people on this planet do the same thing that you're doing. And, give them an opportunity to actually eat every day and have a place to live and whatever. Once again, back to the original idea. When you find yourself in these lulls, you need to remind yourself of where you've come from at a minimum, where you've come from, all the successes and things you've gotten yourself through, where you've been, and pick up yourself by your bootstraps, start again, and get going in a forward motion. And as you can tell, this is probably a talk, not necessarily to you guys or for you guys, but maybe it's to me, because, I have found myself in a lull like I was talking about, which it's okay. It's okay. Because it happens. We're all human beings, and I have been working hard, really, really hard actually, lately. And so it could just simply might be because I'm tired. But that's also part of the analysis. And maybe I need to rest more. Maybe I need to find other ways to cut away from work and things like that when I can. I'm in the military, so it's difficult sometimes. Once again, we are here for a short time. We are not here for a long time, even though it may feel like it. A whisper, barely a mention in time. Let's do something with this life instead of just going through our day and allowing things to happen to us. Why don't we happen to things? Why don't we happen to life? And see what happens. See what it takes us. Decide what you want, because that's what most people don't know. They don't have a clue what they want. So they wander around in circles, 40 years in a desert like Moses did, right? When the promised land was just over the hill or just down the street, however, it wasn't very far. And so we should not be that group of people wandering around the desert for 40 years. We should figure out where we want to go. Even if we don't know, pick something and do it anyway. And then pick something else. Once you start having goals, guess what? You start feeling accomplished. You start feeling like you can do anything. Next thing you know, you are doing anything and everything. So do yourself a favor. Pretend that I am giving you a credit card from God or the source or the Almighty, the maker of everything. And with this card, money, time, boundaries, nothing is limitless. You can do anything that you want. What would that be? And then decide, why aren't you doing it? Because there's no excuses, because you don't have money or time, or you're too old, or you're too young. Because everybody that's made success out of their life has started somewhere. And most of them started with nothing, and at an old age. So why not? Why not you? So, all right, I will go ahead and close this out, but I think you guys get the idea. Live your life, and don't let life live you. As usual, I would really like to talk with you guys about these things. If you will go to my website, look at my contact page on lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com. Find a method that you choose to reach out and contact me. Let's talk. Let's collaborate. Let's see what ideas you have and kind of meld them with mine and see if maybe we can help change the world. We'll see you next time. I hope to hear from you, and you will always hear from me again. Stay strong and live your life.